You gonna hit that record? All right, guys, we're back with episode 3 of Feng Shui, and I got my boy here, Mr. ShadowXLaw. How you doing tonight, sir?
Hey, doing good, Chris. Doing good. Thanks for having me.
All right, no problem. I've been meaning to talk to you because it's been a while. I think it's the last time we really just had like a live stream was when you were doing the Twitter Spaces before it became X.
Yeah.
Which is I don't know how you feel about that a whole shift from
uh,
Twitter to X.
People gonna still call it like the former. Like you have a brand that's been established. It just don't change that simple. You could change McDonald's to whatever, but people still gonna remember it as McDonald's. The
Yep.
brand's still gonna be there. The legacy's still gonna be there.
Now, are you going to be like some of the some of the more recent FGC people who have basically put up on their Twitter like that they're leaving and going to blue skies?
Nope. Because to me, I don't do echo chambers. And the funny thing about that, everybody running over to blue skies, but then coming right back because you know what? They found out that the skies ain't so blue over there. So they like kind of like eating their own. And I found that ironic because everybody saying, "Oh, I'm leaving here. I can't stand it here anymore." Then all of a sudden, they go over to the next place, and then about not even a week later, they come back trying to say, "Come over with us." But then if you hear the news about what's going on over there, it's a free for all.
Yeah.
Everybody eating themselves. It's like you got a lot of people locked into a gulag and said, "Okay, kill each other," and then there it is.
Yeah, cause I've know I Teen Spooky. I think he had posted he was moving his content over to Blue Skies. Big Nasty Kill was moving over to Blue Skies. It's a couple of other. I think Hi-Fi. I think they may have been moving over there too.
Hmm.
I'm like, man, why y'all? Why all of y'all of a sudden y'all moving? Y'all weren't moving when he bought the platform, but now all of a sudden that uh, the presidential election didn't go exactly the way y'all thought it was gonna go. Now everybody wants to move over to Blue Sky.
And I think the reason for that is that got more, um, less censorship and more freedom of speech, freedom of opinions, and more varying opinions because it's not a leftist echo chamber anymore. And we all know that FGC has tended to be very left leaning.
Yeah,
So at that point, now you got to have it's a true public square. And now you got to contend, you got to stand on what you say. You just can't shadow ban this person or pigeonhole or memory hold that person. It's right there. So what you're gonna do is like being in a public square. I mean, yeah, you don't want to harass anybody, but at the same time, you just can't go keep expecting to say what you want and not be challenged on it.
yeah, because as much as I love being in the agency, I've that's something me and Joshua had talked about too. That the scene seems to be really slanted one direction, and if you have a particular leaning that's not in that direction, you kind of basically are incentivized to basically keep your mouth closed on it.
Yeah. I mean, if you were to put like to me, if you were to put me on any kind of spectrum, I'd be center right. Here's my thing. I'm a common sense man that believes in common sense solutions. I'm politically homeless. I don't subscribe to Democrats or Republicans. My whole thing is I look at something, use common sense to call it right down the middle. I mean that it is what it is. Basically calling a spade a spade.
Yeah,
And you have some people, like you said, you're incentivized to keep your mouth shut, or if you keep speaking, you're going to be on a blacklist or whatnot. And at this point, it's like, you know what? Who cares? I mean, I'm still going to say what I want to say.
well, yeah.
What you going to do?
And now even if you block somebody, they can still see what you, they can still see your replies and stuff. Because
Oh
Elon
yeah.
bought that feature back. But just go ahead and
Uh,
give us a little introduction to yourself, sir, before we jump into
uh,
everything.
oh yeah. So name ShadowLaw. I've been playing fighting games for well over 20 years. Started with Street Fighter 2. And I primarily been a Street Fighter player, but I do dabble in other games like Tekken, Guilty Gear, Virtua Fighter. Um, and I just love fighting games. Just like ever since I was that little kid at my local Pizza Hut, I threw my first Shoryuken. I just fell in love with it. So just like the fact that you can, have the best of times is just like throwing fireballs and punching each other in the face all day. And, just that camaraderie through competition, ain't nothing like it. So, just loving fighting games, love gaming in general, and just like to want to see everything grow, and people just get back to basics, just getting back to basics about camaraderie through competition. That's what it's all about.
Right. And well, we're on that topic. What are your thoughts? Because we're gonna just jump straight in. What are your thoughts about the whole Mena RD Knuckle Do situation that kind of went down?
Okay, now I did catch whisperings of that, and there was a point that like Street Fighter League, and I think you're talking about like where I think somebody popped off. I think it was like Knuckle Dude that popped off, and then
No,
dude.
it was Mena.
Oh, okay, it was Minna that popped off, and then like Knuckle Dude tried to step in, and they edited it out. See, in
Yeah,
the
like
old days,
cause
they
he
would.
like cause Mena popped off like in the middle of his pop off, he took his jersey off and then threw it towards Knuckle Dude.
I mean, yeah, like that's tame. I mean, you're talking about somebody. Let me put it this way. You remember when back in the NBA, and I think it's like early late '90s or so, Ron Artest, Meta World Peace.
Yeah.
Somebody like threw something at him. He went into stage in the stands and jumped the guy. I grew up off that.
Oh yeah, but
I grew up off that. So to
I'm about to say that was the
yeah,
wildest thing.
yeah, I know. And then the funny thing about it's like just a shirt. I mean, that is so light, that is so soft, and then people just that was edited out. So that's not FGC. That's esports. The FGC gave us stuff like Viscount versus LTG, the Viscount LTG moment.
Yeah,
You couldn't have anything like that now because it got to be sanitized, and they want to try to reach a wider point, a
the what's
wider
name?
audience. But
Because I like
the
to say I
thing
remember
is,
one of the biggest things was at one point Sanford Kelly and K Brad where K Brad kind of just got right up in their face after he beat him.
oh wait, that was Sanford. No, that was K. Brad and Wolf Chrome.
Okay, yeah, Wolf Chrome.
Yeah, because they had, and the thing is, the beefs were legitimate. They were organic. Now everything feels like it's scripted, like WWE.
Yeah,
And just that whole thing, like you're telling a story through gameplay. No manufactured stuff, no WWE stuff. Like back then, you had people like, you know, what is it? I was just talking about it. You had not Sanford Kelly, but Wolf Crone and K Brad. You had Viscount and Low Tier God. And now it's just like people try to come up with stuff and people don't know how not to take it too far. People don't know how to take it in game. And then that leads to a whole new can of worms. But
yeah,
everything now is about to, try to be sanitized and okay, let's try to be wide spread and mainstream. But here's the problem with that: the FGC was never mainstream. It's always been niche. It's always been grassroots, but it was organic. But when you try to make the jump to the mainstream, that's when the problems happened. And now everything's like become sanitized, and that's how you got the atmosphere now, where you got to walk on eggshells. Everything got to be brand safe, and people are afraid of speaking their minds. And quite frankly, it's gotten boring.
yeah. That's what I kind of looked at too. A lot of things. I'm like, man, are y'all like, do y'all really have beef with each other? Because y'all seem to be real friendly, like outside of the game. So it's like I like like you said, it's kind of like a story. Like y'all trying to build up these rivalries, but it's not really a rivalry because like everybody, like when you look at the pros, like they all play each other like 100 times. Like every time you look into like can opener or TNS or anything like that, like it's the same player just playing against each other all the time. So I'm like, what kind of beef can you really have like that?
Yeah, and now there were like some stuff that was like kind of didn't make it to Street Fighter League or anything. I remember like the grudge matches with a spotter. You had a spotter versus destructive. That was funny. I mean, destructive basically blew a spotter out the water. I don't know if you remember that one, but then also was more humiliating. Humiliating. I'm sorry. Was a spotter versus rushdown. I mean, Rushdown beat this guy so bad. Rushdown gifted him 5 free wins. And then at the end of the first to 10, and this was back in Street Fighter 5, Espada rage quit. I'm like, after all that trash you talking, you want to go ahead and rage quit? Nah. Nah, that was legitimate. That was kind of like, legitimate, nothing manufactured. But the true organic stuff was like back from the days of Daigo, Justin Wong.
Yeah,
Now, that wasn't a beef. That was more like, this is my nemesis. This is like my rival.
yeah,
Evo Moment 37. That was just pure hype. Everybody knows Evo Moment 37. And that's just like organic. It wasn't like, that was pure skill. That was just right there, and you had that rivalry. I think it was like Daigo and Alice Valle from like
hmm,
the Alpha 3 days. Um, let's see what else. But I think in anything, Viscount, low tier god, if it was one of those things. If it simmered to a certain point, they were close to trading blows because they got so close to each other. Now, one thing that I was thinking was you had 801 Strider and Punk in one of the Street Fighter leagues.
yeah,
Now, everybody knew that nothing was going to happen because you had cameras there and it's more reality based television, and everybody like yucking it up afterwards. But no, see, it's that sanitized MTV slash reality show stuff that turn off a lot of people.
yeah. Because what point does competitive fervor get to the point of just being competitive trash talking to basically being competitive disrespect?
All right, so to me, number one thing, keep it in game. Like I could say your jury is trash, or I could say somebody's Marisa is trash, and I'm just going to like troll that person or beat them down mercilessly, and then we just keep it in the game. Now, when you take it out of the game and start making personal attacks, like attacks on people's family or attacks on people's like personal lives or whatnot, that's crossing the line. And at that point, no sets are being played. Y'all gonna take it outside at that point because certain people don't play that way. You don't know what a person's going through, where their
Yeah,
mind is at, how much pressure they're under. So a lot of people, what they would do is that they don't know limits, they don't know constraints. So me and my homeboys, for example, back in my CVS 2 days, we would just trash talk each other as the day is long. But at the end of the day, we say, hey, y'all want to go out and get some hot wings? Okay, sure. We just go down to the local wing stop or whatnot, sit around, shoot the breeze, and then come back, game some more, and call it a day. At the end of the day, we're all homies. I mean, we don't take it personal. We don't go to any. We don't become disrespectful. We just like keep it in the game. Just keep it respectful.
yeah. Cause that whole issue with 801 Strider and Punk, I'm like, well, Punk, you wouldn't really be talking to somebody like that in real life, because it'd be some consequences behind how you talking.
No, he would not. I can tell you right now, if it were the arcade days, Punk would be the type of person that wouldn't show unless his big brother came with him. And even if he did show, if he just talked as reckless as he did back then, back in the 90s or early 2000s, man would have had his head thrown through a cabinet. I mean, that's just what it is because at that point, I think it's just because of the internet, because you could talk so much trash behind the screen. You're anonymous. Nobody can come to you. Nobody knows where you are. But in the arcade, that person right there could literally touch you. So
Yeah,
when I went to the arcades, for example, I never really talked trash, but I was an outsider. And I know that in the arcade days, there were two things I had to watch. I had to watch my energy. I had to watch my mouth. But nowadays, people are reckless because they've been primarily online. They will go offline to a major, but then there's security all around, and nobody's really about that energy. I mean, if anybody has that kind of energy, like, hey, we're going to step outside and handle this, it's like the OGs. It's like the people that came up through like the arcade era.
yeah.
But the online era, everybody like just you seen that meme where like the two dogs are behind the fence and they just bark at
Oh,
each
yeah,
other
yeah,
back and
yeah.
forth, and then once the fence opens, they get quiet. It's the same thing. It is the same thing. I just sit there and laugh.
Because I actually did get a chance to meet Punk last year at DreamHack because he came. Uh, I'm not gonna. Maybe I just got him at the wrong time, but he really didn't. He was kind of just kind of blew me off a bit, and it was just like, okay, cool, whatever. I just like, hey man, I just want to congratulate you on you finally being able to win Evo. That's basically it. Like, hey man, just congratulations. And he was just like, oh yeah, 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 man. And then went back to talking. I'm like, oh
And
okay,
the ho- and the thing is, like, that's one thing rubs me the wrong way. It's a video game. Ain't no need of being Hollywood behind a video game. This ain't the NBA. This isn't the NFL. This ain't even the UFC. I mean, it's just gaming. I mean, if you would have like, I could spot somebody like Conor McGregor or Floyd Mayweather out of a crowd or Steph Curry out of a crowd. But if you were to take somebody like Tokido, Punk, or Mena RD and put them out in the crowd, nobody's going to know them from a can of paint. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Everybody's trying to get Hollywood behind games, and it's real silly. I had a similar experience myself back at final round. I think it was like 2018 or 2019. Me and a homeboy were sitting down playing casuals, and I saw Sherry Jennings, and me and he said my guy said, "Hey, there's Sherry Jennings right there." And I said, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" And then roll the eyes at me like I had a horn growing out of my head. I'm like, okay, moving on. So it's like people being snooty. It's like they're trying to relive high school. They never were the popular kids, so they try to be popular in a niche environment. But you're still that kid that never grew up. I
yeah.
mean, the whole thing about being Hollywood behind the games is just ridiculous.
Yeah, it was weird to me because like when I went to CEO the first time, like I met a lot of pros and they were all nice. They, hey, can I get a picture with you? Like, oh yeah, cool, man. Like I met like Just a Kid, Min RD, Kizzy K. I got the chance to meet Daigo last year, and I'm like, they
You know
all
what?
like even when you meet them, like they all was cool with each other. Especially like I said, Min RD, like man, I just hey man, can I get a picture? He like, oh yeah, he brought me in for a hug and everything. Like,
Now that's what's up. It's like it to me. It seems like the level of friendliness correlates with you know that standing in the game. Like a lot of higher level people do tend to be down to earth and cool. You got those that are trash. It's like a mixed bag. You have a trash personality. As CEO, I was standing right in front of Daigo, but I hate myself for this to this day. I was too afraid to say anything. I was going to say, "Hey, Daigo, what's up?" I turned around. It's like my mouth just like my throat closed up. I couldn't get the words. I was like, ugh.
yeah,
I hated that. But I did see El Chicote. I saw him at final round. I saw him at CEO. I did see Dr. Mandrake and Mena RD, but they were talking. I didn't want to bother them. Now in pools, I did play guilty. You know, we were 1-1, and I came close to being guilty, but I dropped the combo. I was like, oh man, because back then it was like I was playing Urian and she played who is it, Dawson, and I had dropped the combo. It was like an Aegis setup, and I think I mistimed my button, and I was like, oh man, I could have like went on the string. I could have went on to beat guilty, but it was pretty close. I mean, guilty is good, but it wasn't like a complete blowout.
yeah. That's about like what I was
And here's
at.
the funny thing
Okay,
about guilty is that I went and gave guilty a fist bump, try to dap her up, and I was like, hey, let's have a good match. And then turned around, grabbed my fist and shook it. I'm like, okay, mind games, I respect it. But the whole time I had a question mark over my head. I said, okay, let's go.
no, yeah, it does seem like just certain ones have like this kind of like this. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to say attitude about, but just this smugness about them. Like I'm above the rest of you. Like the common you casual players.
Right.
Like I said, cause I think yeah, I got to meet K Brad at the year before last at 2023's Dream Hack, and like he like the coolest dude. Like you could just he was just willing to sit there and just I talking to him, had asking the questions about the game, and he had no problem just sitting there just answering everything I had to ask him.
Oh
Which
yeah, because I know another guy that was real cool. Yipes. It's like
oh
every
yeah,
time I go to a major, I gotta dap him up. I always find him. I dap him up. It was like at final round, got some dap. CEO dap. It's like every time I try to find him, I say, hey, what's going on, man? I make it my sole mission to do
oh yeah,
that.
oh yeah. I got to finally meet him at cause we went to CEO last year, And I finally got the chance to meet him because me and my wife we were sitting down at the uh Starbucks. We were just drinking some refreshers or whatever. And him and his girlfriend, and I think one of his friends they was heading out that way. I said, "Oh man, let me go ahead and just see if I can talk to him real quick before he heads back to the arena." Because I know once he get in there, it's probably gonna be hard to get hard to talk to him.
Oh yeah, everybody gonna be swarming. I mean, I did see Tasty Steve in passing. You know, he was just sitting down, chilling with like Yites and them. And I remember before he passed, rest in peace, Piano Densetsu. I met him, cool guy, real chill. I mean, I hope like the way that he just watching him in action with Urian inspired my Urian back in like Street Fighter Five. So rest in peace to him. I met him at CEO. Um, and to me, it's like that really hit me hard. It's like whoa, because he been MIA for a while, and then came back on and said that he had like cancer or whatnot. I think like kidney failure. Then about a couple of months later, he had passed.
Yeah, yeah. I think what's his name? I can't remember his name. He was a Sagat player, but he like I subscribed to his Twitch. Like he was a real cool dude. I think he from Georgia, I believe. I think he stayed in Atlanta. Oh,
Sagat. Not ringing a bell. I mean, I'm
yeah.
trying to think about it, but the only other Sagat player I remember from Georgia was Densetsu.
It might have been him. 'Cause I know he had passed from cancer.
Might have been him.
Yeah,
I
that
know,
guy.
like
That
Densetsu, like he switched up to Sagat, and it was a work. It was a thing of beauty.
yeah, especially in that game, if you could consistently win with Sagat in that game, you would definitely like pro level.
Yeah,
But just
and you would think that a guy had some cool tools, but then again, I'm thinking about vanilla Street Fighter 4 Sagat, who was broken.
because like I think he would have been okay if season 5 last season Sagat was the Sagat we got in the beginning, and they just buffed and fixed him from there. But in with a game like Street Fighter Five, like everybody had a way to get around Fireball, so there was no way you could really zone them like you want to do with Sagat. Plus, he really didn't have any like really good plus buttons. I'm like even I think if they would have gave him either his crouching or his standing fierce, that you could get more Oki on, that you get actual Oki on it, that I think he would have been okay. Not great, but he would have been okay. Which because it made no sense the fact that you could anti-air DP somebody, dash up, and you're minus.
Yeah. So like yeah, I was thinking about that, and the whole thing about Street Fighter Five, you got to think about the meta. And here's my observation about Street Fighter Five: you need a three frame, explosive damage, good V trigger, and an EX reversal. If you didn't have any of those, you're going to struggle for a minute. Now Urian had explosive damage, excellent V trigger, and invincible reversal up until season 5, but he didn't have a three frame. That was his main weakness. On the other hand, you got people like Karine. She was like top dog for like the longest time. Laura, Rainbow Mika. Now Sagat, he had some damage, but it was kind of iffy, and I say iffy in the sense that much of his stuff was V trigger driven. I think especially with V Trigger, I want to say V Trigger 2. That's the one where he does his tie combo and they could just like juggle into Ultra or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think that to me, and just going to put this out there, Street Fighter 5 last season put a bad taste in my mouth because I will forever say that Urian was neutered to funnel people into Luke because everybody was trying to push Luke, Luke, Luke. But in the last season of the game, you take away a prominent character's EX reversal invincibility frames. I'm like, why? And after that change, I was losing to people I normally don't lose to. Simply because if I get pushed into the corner as Urian, it's a wrap. Especially if I'm fighting somebody like Ibuki, Mika, Bison. I'm toast. I don't have an invincible reversal anymore.
Yeah, I think people just got tired of all those Aegis setups. And now we finna take a knee, we finna take a baseball bat to his kneecaps.
I think people got schmicked one too many times.
But that is a good switch to another topic. Like comparing the two games, Street Fighter Five versus Street Fighter Six. Are you in the camp of the people now saying basically, hey man, maybe we should go back to Street Fighter Five because Street Fighter Six isn't what we thought it was.
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna be like, you know what? We are where we are now. So we are where we are now. So I just say always forward, never backwards. Six is a very volatile game. I made my peace with that. I'm enjoying Marisa, Akuma, Terry. Looking forward to Mai and Elena, when they drop.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, I'm not going backwards to five because people are looking at five through rose colored glasses. They want to try to make a renaissance of five because let's just say, just remember, there are like a lot of issues. And even if you try to go back and play it, you're still going to be playing on the grid. In Street Fighter Six, the net code is improved to the point I can play anywhere without any hiccups. On the other hand, in Street Fighter Five, I'm tired of playing on the grid every single time I get on. You got all these beautiful stages, but I got to play on the grid, and I hate that. And aside from that, very few characters that I would enjoy outside of Urian. If I were to go back to five, the only other character I see myself playing would be either Ryu or M Bison. And it's just Street Fighter Five was a flawed game. It did get better in season 3 and 4, but overall it was rushed. It was bare bones. It was very flawed. So a lot of people trying to look at it as like a renaissance, but you're looking at it through rose-colored glasses, and you just got to be for real. So long story short, I'm just going to be in the camp of six. I'm like, I probably go fool around in five, but I'm moving forward with six.
'Cause I am playing in the Street Fighter Five tournament. I believe it's on the 19th of this month.
Oh,
But
okay,
like
cool.
I'm squarely in the camp of Street Fighter. Like Street Fighter Six and is a 100% improvement in every area compared to Street Fighter Five. There's
For
like to
real.
me, there's no way you can look at six and say, yeah, I get it. Yeah, with the drive rush system, the way people can just basically stay pressuring you and get these explosive damage combos off, and it's and yeah, there is no real consistent way to really win all the time in the game. But I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
it's much better than what we came from.
Yep.
And I guess that's why people are having problems with the game with Street Fighter Six is because of the fact that the game is like so offensive focused.
Yeah, it's like mainly for spectators. You want to try to draw in the crowd, but there's no. Some of the best matches I've seen have been like defensive matches. It's like where you really got to creep in and impose your will. Coming from a martial arts perspective, aside for training taekwondo, I fought in a couple of martial arts tournaments. I also like watching like MMA, especially like UFC or one championships. Like rather than slugfest, which is like entertainment, don't get entertaining. Don't get me wrong. At the same time, you had that masterful fight, like for example, Demetrius Johnson. The way that he analyzes his opponents and just like picks them apart is beautiful. When he was fighting like Khabib Nurmagomedov, just demolished him through wrestling, but it was methodical. So just having a perfect balance of defense and offense, where it's not just all defensive where it's boring, but all offensive where it's boring but also mindless. Say, oh, I'm just going to just drive rush from, I'm just going to medium kick, drive rush into the corner, and just continue to drive rush until I burn out, and I'm going to hang back and I'm going to do it all over again. So the gameplay does get a little degenerate at that point. I'm looking at you, Cammy.
Well, they kind of hit her hard this last patch, which I do like the fact that they. The only thing I really think that I would do like that they did with Cammy is they took away her that EX side switch she had because to me that you shouldn't be able to get a side switch off an EX reversal like that. Especially if somebody could just do it on wake up and basically now you're in the corner. It's like no, she shouldn't be able to do that, especially when no other I don't think no other characters can do that.
Yeah, like she was just ridiculous. And that time, like as Marisa, number one, I don't have as Marisa, I don't have a invincible reversal, and I'm really susceptible to low profile attacks, meaning that my armor doesn't hit low, which is something I guess they can leave out because if she had all encompassing armor, she'd be busted. But the fact that I gotta compete with Cammy's speed and be methodical with my movements, and her crouching medium kick seems to reach almost has like Kareem's crouching medium kick reach. That it really is like a frustrating fight. My thing is that I gotta knock her down and bully her. That's my whole thing about like with Cammy. Kill fast or die fast.
So do you think the game would be better if they made it to where maybe you could drive rush back instead like okay, I need to get some distance. Okay, I can drive rush back.
You know what? They should introduce that. I think that would be a very interesting mechanic. Only because like you got some people that have super slow back walk speed like Marisa or Geef that'll help them like even the odds. Because if I'm trying to like go for a shimmy and I say, oh, I'm a drive rush, but I'm gonna go backwards, you don't know where I'm coming from. It's like, okay, I'm gonna use this last bit to go back and kind of catch my breath, so that way I can like get some drive rush drive meter or preserve my health, so that way I could just okay come up with a game plan and go back in advance. So I
Yeah,
think it would be like a pretty good mechanic to employ.
because honestly, I think right now with the drive meter, I know they did make some changes to it where now certain moves give you more drive meter, but my biggest problem with it is the fact that let's say I'm doing a combo or I get a hit confirm. Why should it cost me 3 bars to drive rush on a hit confirm or with I'm punishing somebody's move? But yeah, I can drive rush for 1 bar, just raw drive rush for 1 bar. But if I get a hit and try to drive rush, it's 3 bars. And like I feel
You
like you
know
should
what?
be rewarded for getting the hit.
You know what? I agree with that. You should like the reward risk ratio in Street Fighter Six is kind of skewed, and I would think that needs to be tuned and adjusted because I was going to say just segue a bit. I think it was Ending Walker or Maximilian dude who came up with a way to preserve meter through drive rush. So if you just hold down, you know, both of your medium buttons and dash forward into a drive rush, it'll cost about a whole bar. But you can just slice that down by like a fraction if you just double dash and at the end of like the last forward motion, you hit your drive rush button. But that takes a little bit more timing to get used to because to me that would like throw out the timing of some of my combos with Marisa because I like fat finger some stuff or I get like happy feet with my fingers and start typing all over the place.
Yeah.
But the whole drive rush, and I think it's like certain characters as well. Um, Akuma, when I was labbing him, he would burn through drive rush like it was just hot, like a hot knife through butter. He would just spend drive meter like it was going out of style. I'm like, wait a minute. The same thing that I would do with Marisa, I can't even do with Akuma because of drive rush economy. I'm spending more as Akuma than I am with Marisa, and it's bonkers.
Yeah, cause they definitely need to start looking at the meter system and trying to see if they can make some change. 'Cause I know a lot of people complain about the drive rushes eating their inputs, and I can kind of see it at times because when you try to basically check someone's drive rush, if you even if you see them turn green and you try to input a button, it kind of just doesn't even come out or it comes out too late.
And then what people also have to remember, and it took me a long time to realize this, when you go into drive rush, the screen freezes for 1 frame. So for I wouldn't say at least a second, but it's a split second. It freezes, so you can like kind of you know muck up your inputs. There have been so many times that I have dropped combos because of that fact. And also, a friend of mine pointed it out that Street Fighter 6 has, I think, 9 frames of input or something like that. It's supposed to mirror KOF 14 or 15. So it's like I forget the exact number, but it's the way I could describe it. When I try to do Marisa's smash attack, sometimes I get her overhead Superman punch only because I input it too fast. So there's like 9 frames of leniency that I have between combos and between moves that I can link rather than try to rapid chain it. So
Yeah,
I think that plays an important role in it as well.
yeah. I know they have said they're going to try to address it. Cause it's I forgot what it is. Something you could turn off that'll basically lower the latency down a bit.
Oh yeah, I remember that setting. I forget what it was, and I don't have Street Fighter 6 pulled up right now,
Yeah.
but I know exactly what you're talking about because I messed around with that setting and it worked.
Oh yeah, cause that's pretty much all I know. As soon as I seen that right there, I pretty much switched it because I'm like something. I'm not sure what they're trying to do, but that goes on to another question right now. Like, what are you? How are you seeing the overall community and how healthy is it right now?
It ain't healthy at all. I think that you got it. Go back to the whole FGC thing about certain people being able to speak and certain people not being able to speak. When we can just like push out all the junk, the politics, the identity politics, and just meet in the middle. And it goes back to what I said at the beginning of the podcast: camaraderie through competition. Focus on competition, keeping it in the game. As far as Street Fighter 6 as a whole, the community is healthier than most, especially, and I'm just going to say this: Mortal Kombat 1 and Tekken. NRS has always been a mixed bag. Tekken is just like now become the domain of weirdos. And Street Fighter 6 seems to be the most level headed, but might be good at keeping a lot of their troubles hidden because it's so mainstream. But I think that let the characters be themselves. Street Fighter 6, as far as like costumes, for example, Marvel Rivals is coming out with about what 88 skins per person or something or another.
Mm-hmm.
Loads of content. We haven't gotten new costumes in Street Fighter 6 in forever. And we had more costumes in Street Fighter 5, even more so in Street Fighter 4. So, you know, get away from the esports stuff, but just let the game breathe. Let it be more creative freedom. Look at like City of the Wolves, for example, Fatal Fury. That's coming out. That's real faithful to like Mark of the Wolves, but you can tell it's going to have a style and flair about it, just like with KOF 15. Now, as far as like the people that play it, I always say that I don't know much about SNK, but I always said that a community can make or break a game.
Yeah.
And one of the chillest communities I've ever encountered was the Unist community, the Under Night Inbirth community. I mean, they were just there to play the game. You don't hear anything about them. They don't start any trouble. So it's just going back to basics. Just
Yeah.
let the game be the game. Give people more expressive creativity outside of Drive Rush. Because the last Street Fighter I remember, where you could fully express yourself was Street Fighter 4 because you had guys like Pepper Day, you had guys like Punko, Infiltration, Smug. They could take a character and make it their own. Bonchan, take a character and make it their own. No one played exactly the same, but it seems like as time goes on, everything becoming more cookie cutter. I mean, if you were to take one Marisa versus another Marisa, I couldn't tell them apart. If you were to take like 801's Marisa versus like say I don't know Rushdown's Marisa and put them side by side, I couldn't tell them apart. You would take a Manon and two Manons together, I couldn't tell them apart. So that's
Yeah.
my thoughts on that.
Yeah, especially with City of the Wolves actually giving you having a season pass and actually giving it to you for free. Like that was to me was the craziest thing about their announcement. But it's
Oh wow, I missed that.
yeah, I think they said pretty much once if you buy the game, you pre-order it or you buy the game, they were basically gonna give the season pass away for free.
Well, in that case, looks like I know what I'm doing after the podcast. Because
Well,
I think it's just coming right around the corner.
yeah, it comes in mid-April. Cause
Oh, okay.
like
That's
I
around my
pre-ordered
birthday.
mine. I pre-ordered mine. I think as soon as the pre-orders went up for it. But
Nice.
I see what you're saying about that because I look at a lot of jury player because I'm a jury player, so I look at things to kind of see like how people are playing her, and it is kind of like if you took the names down and just put these two characters up here, these two players, I couldn't tell you which jury was who. Cause we all everybody all the characters kind of follow a game plan, and if you don't kind of follow that game plan, you kind of it's hard for you to win.
Yeah. It's like you're pigeonholed, and that's a problem with a lot of modern fighting games is that you're pigeonholed into a certain style of play. If you don't play that way, it's hard for you to advance. You may rule the roost in the lower ranks, but as you get up, you're going to get exposed and you're forced into that boring meta play. Now, Virtual Fighter, I'm playing Virtual Fighter 5 Final Showdown, um, and just playing that game, I can see there's a lot of expression in that. You could play that game however you want, and that's like one of the last fighting games where I say that if you ever lose, it is your fault. You don't have any invincible reversals. You don't have any combat mechanics, no V triggers, no rage arts, no drive impacts. It's just you reading your opponent and reading the ring. If you lose, it's your fault.
Yeah, and then we're what's name Virtual Fighter 5 Revo coming out soon. I believe it's either this month or next month it's coming out. And basically,
Oh yeah.
I think it's like I think right now it's on Steam. It's like $15 if you pre-order it, but $20 when it fully comes out. So it can't really
Oh
beat
yeah.
that price.
People are getting hype about that, and then one of my dudes, Jason Elbow, he has said this. He said that how many of these people are genuine fans, and how many of them are tourists? Because a lot of people didn't have all this hype before. Now I love Virtual Fighter. I've been playing it for a while. The one I really sat down in depth with was Virtual Fighter 4 Evolution back on the PlayStation 2. And it's a masterful game. It's a thing of beauty once you get to the higher levels. Once you learn the game, the intricacies, it's beautiful. But at the same time, it's like it's very, very niche because it's not a game that you can just pick up and play. You really got to study it like you study a martial art.
Yeah, like me, I played it a bit, and I said, you know what? I said it's fun, but I said, okay, this just not the game for me. But I'm not one of those people like, okay, well, it's not for me, so I'm just gonna talk crap about it. I'm like, no, it's just not my type of game. But it's probably a lot of other people's type of game. And I know that's been a lot of controversy around what's the guy name? The main man Shui
Oh
basically
yeah.
trash talking Revo. And I'm like, bro, if you don't like the game, it's cool to just say, you know what, it's not a game for me. But
And you
it
know
ain't no
what? A
point to
lot of
just
people.
oh, about to go ahead.
I'm sorry, but I'm about to say a lot of people can't talk from Tekken. A lot of people can't talk about Tekken because you got to remember back in Tekken 7, they paid for frame data. They're never beating that. That's your low point. You got to pay for frame data. I mean, come on now. Other games that had it in there for free, you paid for it.
Yeah, which I think they kind of learned their lessons from. Well, I ain't gonna say that because then they had the whole Heihachi stage incident problem.
What's the whole thing with Heihachi?
Like people bought like the ultimate packs and stuff, the season
Uh huh.
pass, and so when they assumed when Heihachi came out, his stage was gonna come with him, but they were like, nah, you had to buy that separate, and people got a little bit heated about that because like, well, why am I paying for the season pass if I'm not getting everything?
Ooh, yeah. season season passes are a scam now. It's like a lot of people getting like pretty much gypped out of stuff. If I'm paying for all of this stuff, I should just have it on demand when it drops.
Yeah.
I shouldn't get had to buy a piecemeal. That'd be like me ordering a hamburger, but then I got to put it together bit by bit. It's like, okay, I ordered like a hamburger, order a Big Mac, and say, here's the bun. Where's the meat? Oh, that's coming in April. So now I get the meat. When the pickles? Oh, that's coming later this year. It's like different patches. Like here's a pickle patch. Here's like an onion patch. At that point, I'm gonna just throw it away because I'm mad.
The only reason I know about this is because when Lydia got announced and she was finally going to come out, I said, you know what? I was so hyped to play Lydia. I said, you know what? I want to play her 3 days early, so I'll buy the season pass just for her. And that was it. Because outside of that, I didn't care about getting Eddie Gordo. I didn't want Heihachi, and I really didn't want Clive neither. But I said I wanted to get Lydia 3 days early so I could start playing with her and practicing. That was the only reason I bought the season pass.
Now let me tell you about um, Bamco, Tekken, Clive. Now I know a lot of
Broken.
people want to say that I've heard. I heard that like he had like those downtown buttons. Buttons can reach it from like downtown. Round one fight, you get slapped in the face from like half the screen.
Yep.
But my thing about Clive, I know we had Noctis in Tekken 7, but I could kind of give Noctis a pass because Final Fantasy 15 had a more sci-fi slash modern setting, even though it was fantastical. But Clive, he would have been better in Soul Calibur than Tekken. And there's so many other people like, I always say in Tekken, why not put in somebody from Baki? Why not put in Baki? Or why not put in Yujiro Hanma? He would have been like an amazing addition. Can you imagine the hype and just people just losing their minds? Tekken 8, Yujiro Hanma just dropping.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, certain characters like don't mesh with certain games. And Clive honestly would have been better in um, Soul Calibur than Tekken. Now, if Namco had decided that they were going to make a Soul Calibur 7 and he was going to be a guest character there, okay, it would have been nice if they were working on another Soul Calibur game. But they could have picked anybody other than Clive. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm in that camp that he literally doesn't fit. I know in a game where you got mystical space ninjas, teleporting French assassin, CIA assassins, and like MMA coffee queens and all this other stuff. But at least try to keep it grounded.
Because when I started, I really got back into playing Tekken because I did step away because I'm like I just didn't like the way Tekken played. Like this super hyper aggressive. I'm just in your face and you can't really create any space to kind of get neutral back because they nerfed backdashing, and then the heat system basically putting you in the force 50/50s every time. It's like, man, no, I don't
Oh
like this
yeah.
game.
Cause I played it now. I did play it at my cousin's house. We were just like fooling around, but not all of us really knew what to do. But it was just so much fun. Now I've been playing Tekken, but the last Tekken I really sat down and played was Tekken 6 and Tekken Tag Tournament 2. And even then I was real casual at it. So we were just fooling around. He had like Lee Chaolun, I had Lars, I had Jin Kazama, he had like Heihachi, and we were just messing around. But it was like we are just two teenagers again, just having fun. And but I can see if you want to play it competitively, pardon me, it's going to be very very annoying simply because of like how hyper aggressive it is, like you said, and how there's no room to breathe. One match, for example, it was my Lars versus his Steve Fox. He got me up against the wall and just like hammering and hammering and hammering. I'm trying to go for like raise drive, hammering, and then I was just dead. And I was thinking that was nothing I could do, literally nothing. You just press a button. I'll say, okay, I know you probably like negative 13 on that. pop me in the face. I'm like, you're negative 13. I pushed like my launcher. What happened?
Because like Clive came in the game, and I was saying I've been playing Lydia. It's like God, and this character, like you said, pretty much round start he can throw a move out that basically hits you. And then he has like a teleport slide. Then he has a combo to where you're two characters length away from him. He can throw out a dog to basically hit you up into the air to do more combo damage to you. It's like he's like Noctis on steroids.
I'm like, wait a minute. So like, am I supposed to be fighting Dalsim now? Round one fight, and I get a foot to the face.
Like most of his combos are with his sword, which gives him like a way gives him way more length than he should have at the round start.
Hmm.
It's just like once you start playing against on USD, they'll just basically do the same stuff over and over again. You're just like, what can I do? Because it seems like he can just basically keep pressuring me and basically keep going into block streams. Even though I'm trying to take my turn back, he can just throw something out and it's gonna beat me.
Right. And that's like the whole thing about modern games now is that it's all about stealing your turn, stealing your turn, stealing your turn. Used to be you had a turn, it was over. I said, what's your next move? It's kind of like chess in motion, but now it's just like hyper aggro, super aggressive, and after a while it just gets boring.
You know, gotta
So
look
I
at
can
that.
tell, I can see how people get, turned off to it.
Yeah, but that's the whole the esports influence where now they don't want the games to be like stalemates. They want more offense.
Yeah, because I can understand it becoming a turtle fest, but as I said before, there needs to be a perfect balance. And ultimately, it's on the players to play the game and navigate it. But at the same time, in competition, you're going to win. You're going to want to win. And people are going to like find the optimal route to win. And unfortunately, and it's just the nature of the beast, that way of winning often involves copious amounts of cheese. It's
Yep.
going to be the most gimmicky stuff like Elisa, for example. Elisa carries hard. Every person I've seen play Elisa does the most gimmicky stuff like chainsaw go brrr, and it's just rev it up and just go. And I'm like, it's so annoying. No, I'd rather just watch two Eddie Gordos just mash their face on the controllers, on the hitbox, than like to watch like an Elisa gimmick match. I already know how it's going to go.
And that does kind of bring up the whole thing. I don't know if you paid that much attention to the what's it, the EWC.
Oh yeah, bits and pieces of it. Like that's the one that happened in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I paid some attention to that. Like everybody up in arms about it. Now, honestly, here's the deal. People got to understand the whole world is not the United States or whatever country they come from. But namely speaking, the United States, because a lot of people from the United States were up in arms about that because of anti-LGBT policies in Saudi Arabia, knowing good and well that the Middle East is not on that train of thought at all. So, long story short, their house, their rules.
yeah,
You can either abide by the rules or you can stay out. You're not entitled to anybody's country. You're not entitled to anybody's tournament. It's not a right, it's a privilege to be able to compete there. And at the end of the day, you know, also a second point, the people complaining the most about that, they weren't going to get within smelling distance of that money. So they wouldn't even probably made it out of pools. So, I no hatred towards anybody, but you got it's just rules. Rules are rules.
yeah,
You go to another country, you got to abide by their rules. Like for example, as a black man, I'm a black man and I'm Christian. There are places in the world that I literally cannot go because of those two things. So I just don't go. If I go, I don't care if I'm going to Canada or if I'm going to Korea. Their house, their rules. If there are rules that I got to apply, there are places I can't go. I just can't go. If there are things I can't do, there are things I can't do. I'm in their country. I'm a guest there. I have to abide by it. That's simple.
Yeah. And with that whole thing though, but I'm like, wasn't it a tournament before the EWC that was like $400,000 Street Fighter Six Invitational in Saudi
Eh,
Arabia?
I think so. I think it was. It was like in Saudi Arabia. Now I remember there's supposed to be a tournament happening in Saudi Arabia, and then COVID hit. But then I think there was also a similar tournament. But then a lot of people got in arms about it, and that was a big fallout about it because you got mature Ryu player. He caught a lot of flack for it, and then at one point, I think one of the birds got into it, and then people just descended on the birds, and then they had to go back and retract their statement. But the thing is, like, you don't have to apologize for anybody. I mean, as long as you didn't say anything offensive or nasty or out of the way, you good. But those are just rules, you know.
Yeah.
And my wife has a saying: if my presence bothers you, I will bless you with my absence. And that's how I am. It's like, if I'm not welcome in one place, it's no skin off my back. I'll go elsewhere.
Yeah, but then I'm with a lot of that's going around in the term like people trying to get people banned from tournaments. Well, I don't feel comfortable with this person because they're not really okay with the LGBT, but they okay where they're Christian, they don't believe in it, but they're not doing anything to you. They may have told you they disagree with your lifestyle, but they're not trying to physically do something to you at the tournament. They don't do anything but show you respect while you at the tournament. So why would you be trying to get them banned from the tournament because you just don't like their opinion?
And right there, that's just like unnecessary tyranny, council culture. And that's the thing that need to be fought against. There's a group that's fighting against that right now, and they're setting up their own FGC. They're setting up their own tournaments, utilizing the principle of parallel economies, and saying, "Look, we're tired of the cancellation. We're tired of the leftist tyranny. We're tired of being censored. We're just going to go do our own thing. You can insult us, fight us, talk about us, whatever you want, but we're just going to do our own thing." And canceling somebody, banning somebody just off feeling or difference of political opinion or religious thought is wrong. I mean, as long as I don't physically assault you or threaten you or break any kind of laws, there's no reason that anybody should be banned. You want me to respect your lifestyle. You want me to respect your train of thought, but you're not willing to give me the same courtesy. That is sheer hypocrisy, and a lot of people are getting tired of that. And I would say that I have a mutual, somebody that I play Street Fighter 5 and 6 with a lot, who's LGBT. His name is Scorpion Child, and he's a really, really cool person. He's a really skilled person in fighting games. We play a lot of games together. But the thing is, we have a mutual respect. I mean, I'm not forcing my views on him. He's not forcing his views on me. We just play the game, and goes back to once again camaraderie through competition. Nobody cares about the extra stuff. Only those people who can't compete, who don't compete, or don't care about the game are the ones that try to push that stuff to the forefront. So they try to go in and play the game, but they have something else to fall back on. But my thing is the whole thing about canceling somebody over a difference of opinion, that's just silly. I mean, we're all supposed to be grown here. I mean, everybody ain't going to agree with everybody. Everybody isn't going to believe the same thing. You don't have to. Otherwise, we'll all be robots. How
Yeah,
about we just be respectful? That's all there is. It's just about respect.
yeah. I think I guess probably because what the biggest person in that scene would be what's his name? Mortal Kombat.
Sonic
Sonic
Fox.
Fox. Yeah,
Oh goodness.
and it's like I think people are getting more tired of him and his whole shtick of just
Yes.
if you disagree with me, you're against the LGBT. Like no, no, you're just not a likable person, and you seem to
He
be
is not.
really arrogant.
He's arrogant, deluded, isolated from reality. He's a nut. I mean, he walks around in a blue furry suit all the time playing games. And that was just one thing I remember him saying. that like at the video game awards it said, "Hey, I'm gay and I'm going to pee off all the conservatives." And every statement said, "Hey, I'm gay and I'm the best Mortal Kombat player in the world. Hey, I'm gay. Support Skullgirls." And people said, "Dude, be quiet. Nobody cares. Just play the game." Because at this point, I think he has a lot to do with like the tailspin that Mortal Kombat is in, because he got like Ed Boon's ear and implemented all those changes, and that's how everything is the way it is. Skullgirls, for example, he self-inserted himself as like an instructor in one of the training stages. Somebody came up with a mod to erase him, and that mod was immediately stricken down. So now you're trying to use Identity Shield to shield yourself from bad opinion. It's like if I attack your opinion, then you say, "Oh, you're anti-LGBT." I said, "No, I'm just attacking your opinion. I didn't say anything about LGBT. You're using your identity as a shield against criticism, and that's what a lot of people are angry with." And
Mm.
here's a funny story. There's a guy that I know. He said that one of his nephews idolized Sonic Fox. Went to a tournament to meet him. Immediately regretted it. The guy was awkward, aloof, and just like you know, he turned around and told his uncle, "I want to go home now." Just
Mm.
off that one interaction. And I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, if somebody has that much of a negative impact, you really want them around your game. You really want them front and center. And speaking of Sonic Fox, you remember that whole thing about Nobi Gaming? Like he had a contract with Nobi. It was like
Oh
supposed to be
yeah.
backed by him and Waka Flocka Flame.
Mm-hmm.
All he had to do was stream for 5 weeks. That's all he had to do. He broke contract, and then everybody said, "Dude, you just broke contract." And he says, "I'm Sonic Fox, and I'm blah blah blah." And then people rush to defend Sonic Fox, and I'm like, "You broke
Kind of.
contract, man.
I know it
All
was
you had to
something he was
do."
I think he tried to spin it as, I hadn't signed or I couldn't be involved with somebody who has those kind of opinions. I think at the time, I think Waka Flocka had came out in support of Donald Trump
Yeah.
or something like that, and that's kind of what sparked the whole thing where he didn't want to be part of it anymore.
And one thing that gets me, everybody talking about chasing the bag, and it's like, look, you wanted to go the esports route, but so here's the deal: you got to play esports rules, you got to play esports ball. So that means there's certain concessions that are going to be made, and you may not agree with that, but that's just the nature of the beast. And I don't care what somebody's opinions are, as long as you don't disrespect me. If you pay me to do a job, I'm gonna do the job. But the second you disrespect me or you say some heinous stuff, I'm out of there. But it's a lot of people trying to virtue signal, but complain about being broke. How you going to complain about being broke when you just burn every opportunity that comes your way?
Yeah, 'cause, I don't know. It seems like they people in the FGC. It's like they want to pick and choose when they want to be esports, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
it's you're gonna have to pick one or the other. You can't have it both ways.
Right.
Y'all want to keep the giant pop offs, but then you want esports to not limit y'all on what y'all can do. Well, from a business standpoint, they're gonna look at it and say, well, we don't. Our sponsors are not gonna want that kind of look with their products. It's like, well, it's gonna have to be a give and take here.
Yeah, it's give and take. You got to make some concessions. It's business. At the end of the day, business is about providing a solution, but it's also about making money. And at the end of the day, money talks and all the garbage walks. People are going to do what's lucrative, and a lot of investors looking in are going to want a positive return of investment. And if they look at something that could tarnish their brand or not give them a proper return of investment, they're gonna go elsewhere. The only person I could see that would like make an investment to like where they can have multi millions will be Elon Musk. But somebody once told me that Elon Musk is crazy enough to do it, but he's not dumb enough to do it.
Yeah, no, I think the FGC is expecting like an Elon Musk to come in and just drop billions of dollars into the scene, and I'm like, y'all have been trying to go east. Y'all have been trying to do esports since Street Fighter Four is when I can
Mm-hmm.
remember it being in there, and it's like we're almost 2 decades later.
Yeah, 2 decades later, by like let's see, Street Fighter 4 was like 2009, so yeah, 15 years later. Now, almost 60, almost 20 years later, just about.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, well, y'all still don't really have contracts to giving y'all all the benefits, 401ks, all that stuff that just a regular job gives you. It's like it's still there's still not enough money to go around, and I'm like, because I think what the punk saying basically, oh, I only won like what 30,000 for Evo. I,
And that's your fault because like people don't have business sense. They don't have like a business strategy. Somebody told me about it. You remember like ESL, esports league, or it was
mm-hmm.
like you had like different ESL tournaments. I participated in a lot of ESL tournaments, like Street Fighter tournaments. The whole thing about it that went the way of the dodo because like the FGC got in its own way. And my thing is, people need to stay in their lane. You got too many people that think they know what's best for business, but can't even balance a checking account. A lot of people, trying to chase the bag, but ain't got $7 to rub together for like a meal at Taco Bell. And people just like broke, but they're standing in their own way. There's no business model. And again, if I'm an investor, I'm gonna be thinking, what's in it for me? And if I'm not getting anything out of this, I'm just throwing away money. And after a while, I'm cutting you off, recouping my losses, and going about my business.
Yeah, because that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at because people are talking about, well, Uma, he just took the money and ran when he won the $1 million in Capcom Cup. And I'm like, yeah, he did what he's supposed to do.
Exactly.
It's like, oh,
He
I'm
said,
like
"Hey, you're supposed to like be investing back," but like, no, that's my money. Get away from me.
and I'm like, I think he was from Korea, I believe so. And I'm like, dude, do you know how much? Even after he paid taxes, he's still probably walking away with at least about 800,000. Do
Right.
do you
I
know how
mean,
much the
dude
current?
went
You know how
bank.
much the changeover rate from US dollar to Korean money would be?
Yeah, he's balling. He's a baller right now. He's like, in like the hundreds of millions of won.
And they thought, oh well, maybe if it would have been more challenging, he would have came back. I'm like, no, like, like he's good. Like he doesn't have to basically struggle like that in the scene no more. He got his bag, and he took on him and his wife, and they left.
I give you a good example. Another example, like some years ago, Fortnite tournament. I remember this back in 2019 because I was in New York at the time, and I saw it broadcast in like Times Square. The guy's name is Booga, and he won $3 million. At the end of the day, after taxes, he walked away with 1.6. He's 16 years old. Now, a 16-year-old with 1.6 million in the bank is set for a long time. Like he's golden.
Yeah,
Unless the only time he's going to really touch into that money is if he goes off and buy a house or whatnot. But other than that, at 16 years old, 1.6 million, man, you are good.
put it in the
But
bank, collect the interest on it.
yep, invest it, set up a tax shelter, that sort of stuff. But then the whole thing about that tournament, and this is how Fortnite did business because number one, it's like they had multiple people invested in. It was like a true spectator sport. You never know what's going to happen. And the whole thing about it is like you can come in like I remember like you can come in like 10th place and walk away with like $250,000. That's insane.
Yeah,
Think about like top eight doesn't even pay out like over $1,000, for example, in a fighting game tournament. But Fortnite, I think like one guy came in at 16th and walked away with 100,000. You got like the guy that came in like 10th, like about fifth, and walked away with like about 800,000.
do you think there's more because it's easier for people to kind of grasp like Fortnite and Call of Duty and stuff compared to like a fighting game?
Yes, it's very easy because like basically point and shoot. Like my son, he streams it, Fortnite. He streams it, he plays it, and it's very popular because you got brand recognition, you have cameos, and you have a lot of people investing in it, and also you got merch. You have merch and you got the shirts. You have the shirts, you have the Funko Pops and all this other stuff. On the other hand, fighting games. a lot of people ain't gonna know what's going on. They see like a meaty setup into EX Fuha, for example. People like, what just happened? Or if I just snuck up on somebody and ground and pound them with like Marisa, what just happened? Nobody's gonna know what's going on. Like my wife, for example, we grew up playing Street Fighter. She knows Ryu, she knows Ken, she knows Chun Li. But my mom would know Street Fighter. My dad would know Street Fighter. But if I would have like to put in front of them like somebody Soul Bad Guy or Lars Alexanderson, they ain't gonna know who they are. So it's like brand recognition, but also the fact that you're making it simple enough, a simple concept for the audience to understand. Even like with sports, for example, people know to see football, basketball, and can stay entertained without having a below surface knowledge level of it. Not even just surface knowledge level of the game, they can still watch it. Um, MMA on the other hand is a different beast because you got to really be knowing what's going on to really truly enjoy the sport. Now, me and my son know what's going on because like we train martial arts and we're into that sort of stuff. But if I were to show my wife that, she'd just see two half naked men beating on each other, and she's gonna walk away and do something else.
Yeah.
But it's all about like making it, breaking it down to the most basic element for people to understand. So Call of Duty, Fortnite, and other shooters, even something like Apex Legends, it's simple enough for people to understand. Okay, I'm rooting for this guy to shoot this guy and clear the board. On the other hand, you got fighting games. There's so much going on. People just going to lose interest. It's just going to overwhelm them.
Yeah. When it comes to that, it's like I think the like Street Fighter League, I think they could really benefit for actually expanding to make kind of like a G League almost. Instead of, because I know the whole thing, a lot of people have been talking about, well, we need new players, we need new names, but I'm like, well, you have to kind of build those new players and those new names up. So why don't y'all have something like a G League where you can have like, okay, Diamond, we got Diamond and Platinum. These guys down here, but they have potential, and we've gone through and we picked them. They have potential to become great players, and kind of just work with those players and build them up, and kind of have like a, like almost like they do in baseball. We have like the minor league farms and stuff where you can
Mm-hmm.
be bringing these players up and giving them time to say, hey, we're gonna have like this is G League Street Fighter League, and we're gonna these are the players that are not quite pros, but they have potential. So now you can build those players up, and actually give players and people a chance to get to see them and get to watch them play and get to know who they are. So now you got more players coming up behind the ones that are currently on top, instead of just being like, well, if you want to come up, you just got to do it on your own.
Yeah, and each one teach one. Just build people up. You can judge the strength of a region by its median players. Um, a lot of people like us, for example, we have people who could throw us a bone, but for the most part, we got to get it in the mud. And there's a lot of people who got potential who are hungry, but nobody to show them the way. But you have people that show them the way, but they're going to fleece them through coaching. They say, hey, join my Medify. And then for like $50 an hour, I can coach you on frame data to get up to the next level. Rather than, why don't I just teach you because I see something in you and I just want to give back to the community to like, help you grow. I was blessed to have that in certain communities, but for the most part, it's like you on your own. Like you said, you got to get it in the mud. A lot of people got to get it in the mud.
Yeah,
And I think that it's the overall attitude that, especially in North America, people care more about being famous than being good.
yeah. Cause I know I looked at nephew, and he like one of his videos. I haven't watched it in a while, and then he had a little commercial out there like join his I forgot what it is, a Discord or something he had, but it's like, hey, for $10 you can take this guide. For $10 you can get this. For $20 you can get coaching. I'm like, oh god, dog, man. I like
Yeah, I mean, like,
it's guys on YouTube that you can get for free.
right? That people on YouTube can get for free. That people like, you got YouTube, you have, I would say Reddit, you have Google, you have like a treasure trove out there, people doing it for free. And it's like, oh, so that's how that works. I mean, everything. I mean, I can understand some. Everybody got their own hustle, and I can respect their hustle. But everything doesn't have to be a hustle. You can't put up artificial barriers and then complain about the quality of the players and the strength of the players in North America. It's like Japan, for example, you have people there that could be loads of trouble for the rest of the world in the fighting games thing, but they just don't travel. They don't have the sponsorships to do so. On the other hand, you got North America. It's like you got the same handful of people carrying the scene, but it's like I got mine. You had to get yours on your own. I'm not going to show you how to get up to where I am. I'm just going to like cut the rope off and make you climb up while I'm up here on the top. And anybody that try to get to my spot, I'm gonna see like how to get them back down because I'm trying to protect my spot rather than saying
Yeah.
that hey, we all gonna eat at the end of the day.
Yeah, but it's like I get frustrated at that because it's like the scene's never really gonna grow to a certain extent because like you say, like the players who basically have the potential to actually want to learn, you're putting this barrier in front of them saying, I'll teach you only if you do this. And that's why I say I encourage people to, hey man, find your local scene. Because there's a lot of guys in your
Mm-hmm.
local scene that will definitely help you basically level yourself up. And we'll do it for free. But it just seems like the pro player just has, or the pro streamer, I should say, has more influence over the community more so than the local guys.
Right.
Okay.
And I was blessed to be a part of a scene like where I live right now. There are two guys that like helped me level up, and they did it for free. They just gave me lessons. I mean, yeah, I got my face pummeled a couple of times in like sparring them and everything, but at the same time, I walked away a little stronger, learning. Also on Discords, there's a group that I'm a part of, like help me out. Like one guy, he just whoops me for free with his Manon, but I fight his Manon so many times that if it ain't his Manon, you're free. So if anybody Manon other than him comes up to me, I'm beating them because I've played him so much. But that's like the whole thing about just giving back knowledge. It's like I'm not going to gatekeep anybody out of knowledge. If I know something and you need my help, I will give it to you freely. You don't owe me a thing.
But I don't want to shift gears with you, but it's something I I didn't even know about. I think I heard about it a little bit, but then I've recently seen a video on about it. I'm like, oh wait a minute, I know him. Wasn't that the whole situation that kind of went down with a certain female?
Oh goodness.
I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't know that was going on.
Yeah, that was some mess. I mean, the whole thing spiraled out of control. Oh, I'm behind the line, and all I gotta say is like, everything, you reap what you sow. So a lot of people that were like backing this person, now they went silent because they know that person was lying. They also know that that person was also the bad guy, and it's just like more drama. It's just a whole bunch of basically everything built behind lies and drama and silliness. And at the end of the day, you know, some people that got your back. The people like word broke about that. You know who's in your corner. And at the end of the day, you got your real ones got your back. And then everybody sees that person for what they are and who they really are. And I don't think they have that support anymore. And the people that came, supported that person, and the people that like for that person, and they came against like was it Shinblade?
Mm-hmm.
They just backing off now because they realize, oh wait, our lives have been exposed. We got to get out of here. But yeah, that was just like I sit back on there and laugh. It's like if you can't see this person for what they are, I can't help you. Illiterate, uncouth, just childish, roast, third grade level education. If you can't see that person for what they are, I can't help you. If you side with that person, I really can't help you. And matter of fact, I want nothing to do with you.
No, because it did start to bring up kind of an interesting topic in my head. I did ask my last guest about it, like females in the FGC, because we've seen like it seems more like the more of them that are coming in, it seems like the more we're starting to see a lot of stuff going down.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just cause we just had the Super Yam thing. We had the thing with
Uh,
Umi Show.
so what happened with Super Yan?
What's the name when she was playing Daigo? I forgot what tournament it was. Uh,
Oh yeah,
and people
said
trying to
like,
make it
oh,
seem
it's a
like she was
girl
just
gamer.
yeah, she was just trying to she's trying to what's the name get him to look because she moved her lanyard out of the way from her chest so he could saying that basically she was trying to use her breast as a way to try to distract them. And
It's
I'm like,
something that got taken out of context and people being weirdos.
yeah, I'm like, dude, I'm like, nah, dude, I've been at tournaments, I've had a lanyard on. Like a lot of times when I'm playing, I move it out the way because it gets in the way when you're sitting down. It's like,
Yep, I would take it off. I just like slap it behind my shoulder.
yeah, because that's basically what she did. But people just kind of, made it a little bit weird, and it's kind of like stop being weird around women, guys. Like, not everything a woman does at the FGC is a sexual thing.
Yeah, and I think that comes from like lack of home training. You got like people, lack of social skills, and they just see a woman and say, oh, "It's a magic unicorn. I have to like, simp for her and everything. I got to win the princess." I'm like, "No, dude. It's just a woman. She ain't studying you. She probably got a man at home, and she's just here for games. Leave it alone."
Yeah, that's what I'm like with guys like. Because like I think the last couple of CEOs I've been to, I've played against female players and stuff, and it's like the last thing on my mind is like, oh man, let me just go, let me talk to this chick or whatever. I'm like, I'm just trying to lock in, focus on what I need to do in the game, and just get myself ready to play. Not even really thinking about the fact that she's a woman.
Yeah, because I'm gonna tell you, like every tournament I've gone to, I've always taken my family. So when I do my 1 and 2, as usual, I was like, okay, time for casuals. Go out, enjoy the sights, hang with my family. That's it.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not there for anything. I'm not trying to get into anything. I'm not trying to get into any trouble. I just want to enjoy the show. I just
yeah,
want to enjoy the show, enjoy the tournament, go enjoy like whatever venue that I'm at, and whatever city I'm at, and just leave it be. Because a lot of people be trying to get into that extra stuff, and that's how they get into trouble. That's how the drama and the whole foolishness starts.
yeah. Because we see, especially in like the Guilty Gear, and then unfortunately in the Smash community side of things,
Oh
where like
yeah.
people going to people hotel, getting drunk, having casuals and stuff like that. And then I'm like, man, if you and people kind of got mad at me a little bit when I said basically if I was a female in the FGC, there was no way you could convince me to go back to some random dude's room to have casual matches where especially when I walk in there and see there's a bunch of liquor and stuff around. Like, nah, I'm out of here.
Mm. And you know what? That what gets me is a lot of people don't have any common sense. I mean, I'm sorry, but you got to be aware of your surroundings. But also, alcohol, going back to a random room, that's a bad idea from the jump. But my thing is this, and I tell you this from the Yin Yang twins. It don't matter what you do. When you do what you do, nobody can tell on you if you're by yourself. So if you're gonna do something like that, do it in the privacy of your room, doors locked, by yourself. If you're gonna get drunk, do it in the privacy of your room, doors locked, by yourself. You don't need to be with anybody. And a lot of people, and the whole thing that happened there is just, why don't you just call the cops? That's one thing that gets me. People don't call the authorities. People want to try to be judge, jury, and executioner, try to be lawyer. And I'm like, no, a crime happened on your premises. Call the cops. That's
Yeah,
all you gotta do. Call the cops, file a report, let the system take place. That's it.
it seems more like people want to they don't want to call the cops, but they want to basically argue about it in the court of public opinion of X, pretty much. And I'm like,
Excuse me.
y'all are playing with people's reputation when y'all just stick this stuff out there with like no
Mm-hmm.
real evidence or nothing, no due diligence, nothing to really back it up.
And that's the same thing that happened with Shinblade. It's like you're playing with people's reputation, you're playing with people's careers, you're playing with people's lives, and also their freedoms. So when you do a bunch of baseless claims like what happened at the beginning of 2024, the whole Shinblade Tekken drama, and it turned out that in ultimately he was vindicated. Everybody now, that whole space was a disaster to the point where Harada stepped in, and it just became a complete. It was basically turned into a Boondocks episode. If Aaron Magruder was still doing a Boondocks television show, dude would have had material for days. He would have just like, had a field day with that. But Shinblade ended up being innocent. I mean, he was innocent from the jump, but now everybody's seeing that he was innocent. Everybody's seeing that wait, these people lied on him, and it's like the people that started to lie were so desperate to keep a narrative going that it just cascaded into a whole bunch of foolishness. And somebody said, "Whoa, wait a minute." Anybody with like common sense and critical thinking skills would know that his accusers were liars. I mean, the whole thing started because of like he got teabagged. Somebody got teabagged in a match, and then he said, "Oh, I'm salty. I'm going to defend women's honor. I'm going to say that Shinblade did blah 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 blah." But it ended up being lies, and people just don't know how to act. It's kind of like at some point people are starting to live in a state of arrested development, and it just ruins it for the rest of us.
Because like I said, my wife, she went to she went to two CEOs. The second one she didn't really go down there too much, but she came to like the first one, and she was just looking. She was just walking around and said, "Some of these girls in here probably trying to sell something." If you know what I mean.
Yep.
Just looking around at some of these girls and like how they were dressing the venue, and even when I went to DreamHack, I'm like, wow, y'all just some of y'all girls just y'all just letting it all hang out and don't seem to care who sees.
Yeah, it'd be like, okay, where your pimp?
Mm.
But yeah, it's just like it says turn your head and avoid. That's it. Like the last majors I went to, I had my family in tow, and then after that, like I said, we just went off and did our own thing. But it was just like you got a lot of people around here trying to start stuff, and you could tell who's really there for it to be genuine and who's there to try to start something. And have you noticed that the people that really start stuff don't really play the games or care about the games?
Yeah.
But there's like one person, I'm not going to name them, whose main claim to fame is Darkstalkers. You're talking about a game that's over 30 years old, and chances are that person probably don't even play it. But hey, have fun, trying to be a drama starter. But try to be a 40-year-old e-girl. But hey, that's neither here nor there.
Oh yeah, I've seen a couple of, especially like some cosplayers who basically been involved in a lot of stuff going on, and I'm like, okay, it's one of those things where it's just like I don't know, is bringing females around? Is it the females or is it the guys or is it just a combination of just people just don't know how to act nowadays?
It's a combination of both, and I say that after COVID, when people were just like shut in their houses for about a year, they just became feral. I don't know what it is, but something about it, it just became feral because of the city where I used to live before moving. We were shut in our houses for a year, COVID, and everybody started like coming out. Everybody just like went nuts. It's like there was a shooting here, a beating there, something burning down. It's like, yeah, we got to get out of here. And the whole thing is that I think that it's a combination of both. You have people. There's two camps of people. You got people who want to be left alone, and the people who don't want to leave others alone. And then when they mesh together, nothing good comes. Cause you got the people that say, "Hey, I'm just trying to chill," but somebody trying to like start something, or somebody trying to build a platform off somebody's name. Somebody basically you got a bunch of people that has no business being there. If you're not about the game and the camaraderie, you don't have any business being there. And I think that comes part and parcel due to lack of gatekeeping. Now, proper gatekeeping, I know that's become like a cuss word, but proper gatekeeping saves a lot of trouble, saves a lot of headaches, and saves a lot of lives because, you had the bad actors have now trickled in because of inclusion and inclusivity, but nobody wants to actually hold anybody accountable and just say, hey, look, that person is up to no good. That person looks shady. That person is all about lies and drama. We need to keep them out. But nobody wants to do that because then they're being negative.
Mm, eh, and that's something me and my previous guests we talked about it as well. People trying like people checking people and not wanting to do it because that's my homeboy. I'm cool with him. So you kind of let these behaviors kind of fly when you basically need to address them at the moment. It, I, I don't know. It's just hard right now because, like I said, the community kind of feels like it wants to be over here. It's like it's slanted to one side, and that's what we believe. And if you don't believe in that, we're just gonna run you out of our tournaments. So I kind of do enjoy the fact that somebody's like, no, we're just gonna make our own tournaments, and we're just gonna move on from there.
And ain't nothing wrong with that. I've learned a long time ago that if I'm not welcome at anybody else's table, I'm just going to build my own.
Yeah, I did. Well, this is gonna be the last thing I'm gonna ask you about the next day because I know you probably got some stuff you want to do with your family and everything.
Oh, yeah, it's all good, man.
But a certain person has been resurfaced is making a basically like a little comeback almost. Mr. Infiltration,
Mm-hmm.
and basically been pleading his case to come back into like the majors and stuff like that. And he's been putting out videos basically showing his side of things and recordings he had between him and his wife, and kind of really going into detail about what exactly happened in that whole incident. I said I didn't know if you've had a change of heart or anything on him or
Now, I've watched that video. I saw it on somebody sent it to me, so I saw it on YouTube and I watched it. And he just sat down and detailed everything about what happened and cleared up all the misconceptions. Now, when he got to the point, now originally he was accused of domestic violence, but it turned out that he was defending himself from his wife at the time when she was just smashing up his trophies and everything, causing a ruckus. But in the Korean court, he like had like I think he pleaded no contest or something like that. He said he took a plea deal where that he wasn't guilty, but it wasn't necessarily innocent either. I don't know how Korean law works, so don't
yeah.
quote me. But then fast forward, and then he went to Evo, the latest Evo, and mind you, the charge was domestic violence. Tell me why somebody under his name at Hall of Champions wrote rapist. I mean,
Mm,
yeah, and people just took a narrative and just like ran with it like wildfire. My whole thing about it, when it looks at it, even then when its surface broke, the popular thing to do was the dog pile on them. Now, when you find somebody being unjustly attacked and dog piled, that's worth looking into because chances are that's only because somebody's following a narrative and the truth is stranger than fiction. So if you dig through all the lies, you dig through all the narratives, you're going to find the truth. There's a reason why that person is being dogpiled upon. And oftentimes it's not for the reason that you think. So ultimately, infiltration was innocent. And I believe what he says. But then because all the stuff that happened in the timelines, when you add it up, it don't add up. When you put it all together, what people in the fighting game community say and what he says, when you stack it up, it don't add up. It's like, wait a minute, you know, this guy, like, here's my thing. At Evo, when he showed up, he was outnumbered 50-1. If everybody had the smoke for him, why did nobody approach him? Why did anybody try to jump him or anything like that? He was outnumbered 50-1 because they know, they were following a popular narrative, but they're too afraid to say anything. So my thing about infiltration, the man's guilty, let him rock. And I think a lot of people want to keep him out because they want to follow that narrative. Meanwhile, if they let him back in, that means a whole bunch of stuff might be getting uncovered and going to make some people uncomfortable. So my thing is, let him back. The man's innocent. He did his time. And also, when he was banned. It was self-imposed. It wasn't handed down from Capcom. He said, "I'm gonna step away." So he'd been away for a while, and the whole thing about the tournament fixing that was cleared up as well. So to me, it seems like That don't seem like the marks of a guilty man to me. I mean,
Yeah.
when you sit down and sift through the truth and see how stuff, you just try to sift through it. A lot of stuff like what the FGC painted didn't add up because he was cleared in the Korean courts. And if you got a problem with Korean law, go to Korea, become a lawyer, become a judge, and then change the laws. But until then, you don't know what's going on. So people want to paint that narrative.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it got propagated by Ultra David because he's like the FGC lawyer, and everybody pretty much anytime you talk anything legal, everybody says talk to him. I think he was the one that more so propagated it by basically like, I'm a lawyer. I looked at it. This is what it means. I'm like, well, I don't know. Do you speak Korean? I don't. So how
Yeah,
do you know
because
Korean? Like you said, do you know Korean law?
because like that's the thing. That's the number one thing that he looking at it through a Western lens. But again, you don't know how Korean law works. You don't know how it is because like even like like you don't speak Korean, you don't know the Korean laws, you're not a Korean law expert. So if you're trying to interpret Korean law through like United States eyes, you're going to be wrong every time.
You know, and I don't know. Ultra David one like I could get into a whole tangent about him.
Oh my goodness. And the whole thing is that, there's so many bands. It's like rules for D, but not for me. For example, LTG and Ceroblast. LTG and Ceroblast, when that situation went down, that was like a situation of mutually assured destruction. LTG went on his tirade. Ceroblast went on his. Ceroblast was caught on camera using the N word, right?
Hmm.
But then when Ceroblast became trans, everything was forgiven. LTG remained banned to this day. So that's also a case of rules not being applied equally, but also stuff being thrown out of whack by a narrative. And like you said with Ultra David, people take his word at face value. Do we even know if this guy's actually a lawyer or an attorney? Because if you are a lawyer or an attorney, why are you like hovering around fighting games all the time? If I was a lawyer or an attorney, I'd probably be too busy with caseloads and helping people out in their legal issues, making money. But you hovering around using a law degree, hover around a niche fighting game community. Make it make sense.
Yeah, 'cause I think he is one, but it's like what kind of lawyer are you? Because there are different
Right.
lawyers for different things, and I think they use it like as him as like an overcompensating legal person. I'm like, because I know it was on Shadow Shadow Ace and Sir Retro show. They had a guy come on there and talking about they were talking about they got these contracts from this place to do content. And I'm just like, have y'all talked to a contract lawyer? And they're like, no, we haven't talked to a contract lawyer. People told us to reach out to Ultra David, and I'm
Oh.
like, why wouldn't you reach out to an actual contract lawyer to look it over? Yeah, I know it's gonna cost you a little bit of money, but that little bit of money might actually save you big money in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like people
All
like
lawyers are not equal.
yeah, it's like people just like, oh, he's a lawyer. I'm like, he might be a lawyer, but he's not an all encompassing lawyer. He doesn't practice law in every aspect of what goes on. So it's just like it's one of those things I just wish the community wouldn't just rely so heavily on one person interpretation of something.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm almost like the outside in. Cause I'm like common sense almost. So I find myself a
Yep.
lot of times on the outside looking in.
And that's ultimately what it boils down to is common sense. But common sense ain't so common anymore.
I'm like, nah, you definitely right, especially in this community. Sometimes it just feels like people. It's like they're so afraid to so much as step out of line with the higher ups in the community that they will basically go along with things that they know to be dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this is not a good thing for a scene to have.
It's not a good thing. It's not a good look, and it's costing the scene money and potential income. But once again, people don't know how to get out of their way.
And
They don't know how to get out of their own way.
Yeah, and then especially when it comes to some of these fanboys. Like I get it, you like Punk, you like Sonic, you like these players, but it's like they're not always right on everything. Like you have to be
Exactly.
objective on certain things.
Yeah, you got to call stuff right down the middle. And again, by the whole thing with infiltration, people talking about Ultra David, but again, what kind of lawyer is he? And does he really have the chops for that? And ultimately, is Korean law. So again, do you speak Korean? Do you know Korean culture? Do you know Korean law? If not, you need to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
That'd be like trying to interpret Colombian law. I don't know anything about Colombia, so I'm not going to interpret the law. But everything, and then it turns out that like the narrative was spread against infiltration by his ex-wife's side dude. So now all that uncovered another layer. But seems like at the time he had to get everything together. It might have been legal constraints he couldn't talk about. Could have been like the timing, but you don't just sit on something for a while. It's like, if he was guilty, he probably would just slunk off or probably went the LTG route or the Theo Lee Ronin route of like going berserk and everything like that. But he bided his time, made a clear and concise video, and offered a different viewpoint. Now, somebody would say, with common sense, would say, let me just digest what he's saying. But the FGC said, no, I'm not reading all of that, or you're guilty. Go away.
Yeah, because I know they've been trying to basically get this tournament. I think it's the tournament in Germany that's having them come. They're trying to get them to uninvite him. I'm like, they're like, y'all care more about this than anybody else. And the people who really care about this don't left the community or basically not even really caring about it themselves. It's just y'all
I
just
just
trying to
have
get social points.
and for the people that like trying so hard to get them uninvited, I just got one question for them. Do you know how dumb you sound? I mean, seriously, like you said, the people that cared about it are like have long since moved on. And these are just people going off whispers and trying to keep a narrative going. But yeah, do you know how dumb you sound trying to get this man uninvited? And secondly, it's Germany. Germany don't care. I mean, he ain't caused any disturbances. He didn't bother anybody. He went there, played. That's it.
Yeah. But you know how it is, man. Everybody wants to be a social justice warrior online and be offended by every little thing.
And I just say this, the people who shout virtue the most have the least virtue. Because when you start putting your virtue on blast, I'm gonna say, okay, what are you hiding?
Yeah,
You talk so virtuously about against other people. What are you hiding?
yeah. And I'm gonna leave it off with this: the Malcolm X thing. A wolf is easy to spot, but someone who clothes themselves in good deeds is a lot harder to spot.
Amen.
But let the people know where they can find you at, sir.
Yeah, like so you could probably like I'm trying to get a YouTube channel started up, and right now it's like I could be found on Discord mainly, spend most of my days there at like ShadowXLaw. But I'm on across like multiple platforms. You could just find me on CFN, ShadowXLaw, or whatnot, and get some games in. But you can just find me there and, DM me, whatnot, or message me. Hey, let's chat. You want to get some games? We can get some games in. If you want to just chop it up, we can just chop it up.
Because I definitely got to add you to my friend list since I don't moved over to the PC now. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw that.
because it's like I still have my PlayStation 5, but it's like there's really nothing coming out for it. And I kind of regret that I spent the money on it.
Oh, yeah. I
But
mean, like, I got my PS5 and I like it. I mean, I had my PS4, but like the PS5, I'm getting some good mileage off of it. Is that if anything, like the kids love playing Roblox and Crash Bandicoot on it.
yeah, 'cause I know they have like the other thing you can get like the PlayStation, like the PS1, PS2 games and stuff like that on there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't know. I had FGC Kratos build me one. I said when I had the money for it.
Oh yeah. If
Yeah,
you don't mind my asking, how much did it run you?
I think it was like 1,200.
Oh, okay, not bad.
Yeah, and it's like 1,200. Yeah, and then no, it was 11 because he only wanted like $100 for just building it and stuff.
Okay, 1100. So ultimately, it was like about. Oh, okay, I see. I see. Not bad, not bad. I might have to hit him up. It might be a future project for me and my son to build a gaming PC, but we'll see how that pans out.
Oh yeah, cause like, he's good at like when he built mines. Like when he built it, he didn't want to ship it to me because he didn't want nothing to get damaged. So we literally like met halfway between I think he's in Tennessee, and
Yeah.
he drove down and we met like halfway, like right up there at what's that? It's I guess like Dallas and going towards in Atlanta or going past
Oh
Atlanta.
yeah. Oh yeah. Dallas. I
It's
know where
like
that's at.
yeah, we met right there and he brought it to me.
Oh wow.
Yeah, cause he just wanted to make sure it didn't get damaged or anything like that.
Oh yeah. That's what's up.
But yeah. All right, sir, I'm gonna let you go.
Hey man, I really appreciate you having me here. Really good to chop it up, and really appreciate the podcast. Just like get a chance to get the stuff out the chest and just get our opinions out there.
Yeah, and I do have one more question. When are you gonna start your spaces up again?
That's to be determined. I want to
Okay.
start it up, but at the same time, it's like got to see how things pan out. But I'll let y'all know. Y'all be the first to know.
I got you. I got you. Well, yeah, everybody, that's gonna be it for the show. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace. Be safe.
Peace out.